Travelers on the Omnibus occasionally touches on mature subject matter with mature language. As such, audience discretion is advised. Welcome to Travelers on the Omnibus, a field trip through nerd and pop culture. My name's James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Cope.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Gentlemen, we're back. We're Ghibli July-less now. We made it through 5 weeks of Ghibli.
Especially that last one. Whew, what a mind fuck that movie was.
I've seen all my Ghibli movies for the year. I'm good.
I haven't seen all my Ghibli movies for the year, but okay.
I'm starting to outfit some in.
There you go. Later on tonight, we're going to be presenting our chalkboard of the top 5 scariest moments from video games. But first, Ethan, what have you been up to?
I watched another movie.
Okay.
You watched The Girl and the Pelican, which is the Asylum version of it.
Me and Bianca, we went to the movies the other night. We watched Deadpool and Wolverine.
Nice.
I very much enjoyed the movie. I'm not going to say much about it. I don't believe anyone here has seen it yet.
No,
I have not.
No. So I will say it was worth what I paid for, and I very much enjoyed. Just had an all-around good time.
You may think that's a positive. However, Ethan sneaks into the movie, so he didn't pay anything for them.
Don't tell him.
Oh, man.
What theater did you go to?
Now we're trying to get him arrested. No. Don't tell him which theater. They'll come for you.
I definitely didn't go to... No.
Did it have 2 dents and they left the light on?
No, but...
Did someone threaten you to fight because you told them Batman wasn't real?
No, but there... I wouldn't say it wasn't a bad... It was a bad movie experience.
Did an old man come in 30 minutes before the movie was over and then started sleeping and snoring right in front of you?
No. However, I have a feeling...
Another interruption.
Yeah.
And another interruption.
And another interruption.
It's one of those things where you go to the movies, you're watching a comedy movie, and you're watching everyone laughs, and you just can't really hear what the movie's saying.
That's sometimes.
That's like one of the...
Oh, is the audio blowed out?
No, is like everyone around me just laughing.
Okay.
So the happiness of others made you sad.
Boisterous laughing.
Okay.
Everyone's happiness got in the way of my enjoyment.
Yeah, they all
okay,
had
that's
too
what
much
it was.
fun.
That only happened to me once when I went to see a comedy. It was the early 90s or mid-90s Mask movie with Jim Carrey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not the Eric
That makes
Stoltz
sense.
Mask. People were laughing at that movie. That would have been a bad scene.
No, we don't talk about that movie.
We don't talk about
What you
Bruno.
do is you carry firecrackers with you, and then you light them and you just throw them, and then bang, 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 and then everybody runs out. Now, you think, since you're the only one that stays, so you want to watch the movie, you think, oh, they're going to know it's me. When they come up to you, you go, nah, I ain't going out like that. You just keep saying that and just do that badass shit.
Is that lawyer advice? Is that like...
Oh, absolutely not. What? If you take that as legal advice, you should go to jail and hell.
At the same time.
And hell.
Jesus.
But no, Deadpool Wolverine, good movie. That's pretty much...
How many Marvel trailers did you see?
I don't think any would be out right now. The only one that you might see would be Captain America Brave New World.
Brave New World. We did see that.
Oh, yeah. Captain America is played by Robert Downey Jr. in that one, right?
Yeah. It's just they're all going to be Robert Downey Jr. eventually. We'll talk about that in a second.
Yeah, I had it when you said in the pre-show when you said rant. I knew what it was going to be about.
I hear they're making Black Panther again with Robert Downey Jr.
Yeah. It's going to be him. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah, reprising his role
John
from Tropic
Favreau is
Thunder.
also going to be in there.
Yeah.
As T'Challa as well.
Yeah.
That's me.
There you go. Brady, you're up.
Okay. So, starting out, I didn't go too crazy this Prime Day. I only bought a couple of books because they were on really good sale, and one of them was the book version of Annihilation. Annihilation, the movie, I absolutely love. It is, the more I think about it, the more I've watched it. It's kind of moved up into my favorite movies of all time. I really love Alex Garland, and so I wanted to read the book. And I've started. It is very different from the movie. The movie just kind of took some of the things from it. This is a little bit more. it's still about, going into this area where, things don't work the way that we're supposed to, but this is a lot more subtle. This actually feels a little bit, the writer, can't remember his first name, his last name is Vandermeer.
That is going to be Mr. Jeff Vander.
I knew it was the J. I couldn't remember if it was John or whatever. Yeah. This is feeling a little bit more like Stalker, like area, like the zone in Stalker, where it's very subtle, the differences in things, and it's a little bit more obvious as to what, like, how things are different in the area in the movie. It's interesting so far. It's done like it's sort of kind of stream of consciousness, but not really. It's done like a journal. One of the people on the expedition, of the biologist, you don't know anybody's name. It's just her writings in the journal, and there's the biologist, the psychologist, the surveyor, and the anthropologist. And I'm not super far into it, but it's very interesting. And it's interesting to see like the differences in this and the subtleties that are at play with what they call Area X versus what they call the Shimmer in the movie. But it's very interesting. There's 2 more books of it, so if it continues to be interesting, I'll probably eventually get the other 2 books. And they're only like 200. They're like novellas. They're like 200 pages. So
that's nothing.
So it's not even that. But it isn't like it doesn't feel like a quick read to me, because it is just the pacing of it is it makes it a slower read. But that one's very interesting. Also, I wasn't able to make it back to, or I just didn't feel like going back to Barnes and Nobles for their Criterion sale, but the Criterion Collection sale is on like kind of everywhere. You can find, on Amazon stuff is usually cheaper, and that's the only time that you should buy a Criterion Collection Blu-ray. They're very good, but they're also super expensive, and in my opinion, overpriced, unless you buy them on the 50% off sale. Paying $20 for a Blu-ray is much better than paying $40 for a Blu-ray.
Right.
Or their box sets, which are way more expensive. And one of the movies I was going to get wasn't on sale, or it wasn't like, it was a really long shipping, and I didn't feel like dealing with it. So I got another movie that I was kind of been interested in. It's an old Western called McCabe and Mrs. Miller.
I've heard of that one.
It is directed by Robert Altman. If that name sounds familiar, he is the director of MASH and Nashville and some really other bad movies that I was looking at. I was like, what the fuck why did he do
Altman
these?
is hit and miss. Like,
yeah,
right.
There's no, the MASH movie gets overlooked by the TV
series, yeah.
But it was also a very good TV series as well.
Yes,
but
it
there's some other things in Altman's catalog that are just like, oh,
yeah,
really?
it's like, where the fuck did this come from?
Yeah.
But McCabe and Miss Miller, it stars Warren Beatty as McCabe. He comes to this this kind of frontier town called Presbyterian Church in Oregon, I believe. It's in the Pacific Northwest. And he just wants to come here to strike it rich by building a whorehouse. And Mrs. Miller shows up, and she's like, I'm a whore, and I'm a really good whore, and I know a whole lot about whoring. So if you just let me run the whorehouse, then everything's going to be great. And everything is pretty great until some people come and it's like, hey, we want to buy up your land because there's minerals under here.
There's oil.
McCabe is a very interesting character. He is not like the stoic, Western hero. He's kind of a piece of shit. Like he's kind of a shitty dude, and he's just kind of, wherever he can make a buck, he'll make a buck. So it's very interesting. The relationship between those two is interesting. It's very much of a kind of dreamy slice of life story. It really doesn't there's not much of a plot until, about halfway through the movie, really. It's just kind of showing scenes of the whorehouse being built, and then, things happening with in the whorehouse and all this. And, but it's an interesting movie. it should have felt like kind of slow and plodding, but it actually moved. But it actually felt like it moved pretty quickly. It's kind of a weird thing, but it is very like it's kind of a vibes movie, I would say, probably because it's just you're just kind of living in this world and just seeing these people live their lives.
It's kind of like an art house, like Western
sort of kind of
movie.
yeah. Yeah, it's not if you're coming into it looking for like the shootouts and all this stuff. There is a little bit of action towards the end, and it's pretty interesting. But it's not like it's not going to be like your spaghetti westerns or anything like that. But it's a very interesting movie. And Warren Beatty and I cannot remember the name of the lady who plays Mrs. Miller.
Julie Christie.
Julie. I had a J. Yeah, Julie Christie. She's been in a lot of stuff too.
Someone with you in these J names recently.
Yeah. But yeah, it's a pretty good movie. I would say check it out if you are interested in like westerns, but you're wanting something a little bit off the beaten path from like what you normally think of as the westerns, the John Fords and the spaghetti western type things.
Right.
Yeah. He did MASH and also Popeye.
Yeah, I was about to say Popeye was the one I couldn't think of. Yeah. So yeah, the
Popeye might have been the nail in the coffin for his career.
No, he had about 20 years after that as well.
Jesus.
The most recent one that I see for him where he was director and producer but not writer was A Prairie Home Companion.
The movie.
Yeah.
That was before.
He also did Gosford Park, which seems strange to me, but yeah.
That's a weird movie.
He didn't really like none of his big hits. I don't think were after Popeye. I think that was kind of like he was just kind of going to do some movies after that, but nothing major.
The McCabe Mrs. Miller movie didn't make any money either. Yeah. In fact, I found out about that and Heaven's Gate through the Z Channel documentary.
Oh, okay.
Because they showed a lot of art house movies on the Z Channel was the first paid cable channel.
Oh, okay.
Before HBO existed.
Oh, okay.
And it was only available in parts of California. Yeah,
that's interesting. So yeah, McCabe and Mrs. Miller. If you're looking for something, kind of off the beaten path, but it's still like a Western style, check that out. Warren Beatty wears a gigantic fur coat in it, and it is very funny to watch him walk around in that thing. So yeah. And the last thing that I have is a little bit of a rant.
Hey everybody, Future Jay here. So we all kind of went on a rant about the casting of Robert Downey Jr. as Dr. Doom in the upcoming Avengers movie. And it went on a little long, but we thought we had some good points, or maybe we don't, but you'll be able to tell us if we have good or bad points. So in about a couple of days, we're going to have a rest stop on the casting of Robert Downey Jr. and a little bit of talk about the current state of the Marvel Cinematic Universe. So with that being said, let's get back right as that rant is over. Brady, take it back.
So that's all I have. Somebody else can go.
Jojo Dodio. What do you got, brother?
So a new free-to-play looter shooter dropped this week or week before called The First Descendant.
In my brain, I have been keeping changing out to The Last Testament, and I'm like, what does Carrion Cross have to do with any of this?
So it's a like high sci-fi looter shooter that's set in like some unknown galaxy. Like I skipped past all the story stuff because it was very boring and didn't make any sense. You get your choices of 3 different characters to start with. And basically you just have like an aggro person, a tank person, and someone that's kind of balanced. I picked the tank, and I played like 5 or 6 hours of it. It's pretty fun, actually. There's a lot of, it's one of those I wouldn't say it's divisive online, but a lot of people complaining about things that they shouldn't really be complaining about. So it's not a gacha game, but it's made by Nexion, who typically make gacha games. If you don't know what a gacha game is, for the listeners, it is where you spend money on a random item, hoping to get an item that you want. In The First Descendant, if you don't want to grind out in-game currency, which you can do, but it just takes a really long time. But again, this is a free-to-play game. You can purchase an item. It's not random. It's not a loot box. It's not a gacha because you're paying for what you're getting. Gacha is you're gambling at what you might think that you want or whatnot. Prime example of that is Zenless Zone Zero is a gacha game. A fun gacha game, but it's a gacha game. So anyway, the First Descendant, it's a shooter. It's third-person shooter. If I was gonna like akin it to anything as far as like the way it's sort of like its aesthetics are, it's kind of like a Destiny, kind of in a way. It's got that kind of look to it to a degree, but it's really fun and I've really been enjoying it, and I recommend that you try it. It's free, so check it out. The First Descendant. Also, I've been playing a lot of Minecraft lately.
Okay, I'm back. Okay.
I've been like cultivating the large area that we have on our server right next to where Jay's area is, making movement to build bigger and better things and more efficiency in the game itself. What have you been doing in Minecraft, Jay?
I've been strip mining whole mountains.
I see.
So that I can build a giant staircase to my house.
Yeah, you need that.
Yes.
You need a giant staircase.
I did because I put my house on top of a fucking mountain.
You
Are
did.
we talking giant staircase but for a little house, or is
No, it's a big house.
No, it's a big house, and it needs a slate, which is funny because I have an elytra, which means I can fly, so I don't need it.
Mm-hmm.
But
you want it.
yeah. Aesthetically, I like the Mayan temples and the Incan temples. I love that staircase work going up the pyramid look. I've always, and so it's like the idea that you can replicate that. Minecraft is very good because if you have a goal and it's the program allows for it, just put in the time and the effort and you will achieve it.
Eventually.
It's not a matter of, it's like, okay, I'm putting all this time in this thing and maybe it might fall apart. Like, no, like you just put the time in, build the blocks. Like an Enderman might come and take a block out, just put the block back. It's there for you. And I think that's one of the reasons why Minecraft is still popular, is because the work you put in, as long as you see it through to the ending, you get a result.
And you also can play the game how you want to play the game. You can like just build stuff after you've acquired materials, and it's a very zen experience. It's very relaxing and almost meditative. Or you could go and start fighting shit if you so desire. Or if you don't go to sleep at night, shit will come and fight you.
You got to get that bed.
You got to get that bed. And those sakura trees.
Yeah. That was like one of my favorite things they've added recently.
It was one of mine.
Cherry blossom trees, sakura everywhere.
What wasn't fun, though, was that people that were on our server initially that are not currently, haven't played the game, thankfully, in a while. The thing about Minecraft is that when you explore an area, as you're moving forward, no matter what direction, the game is basically like rendering as you're moving through it. Okay? Now, that's not a problem. However, if you, as a player on a server with other players, move, let's just say, like 30,000 blocks in all directions, when there's an update for the game and new things appear, they won't appear because that part of the game's already been rendered. So someone else, like me, has to go past that point in all four directions to find something like a cherry blossom tree, which is what I had to do.
They didn't have to do that. That
No.
was the part that really kind of got under my skin, was the fact that they did that so that they could have a place where they could mine resources and only do that and not have it screw up with the stuff, quote unquote, locally. And yeah, that being the first Ender Dragon kill on the server, that
Without
was
telling
also,
anybody,
without
yep.
telling anybody they were doing it. That was, yeah. That's, here's my quick little rant. If you're sharing a server, share it.
Yeah.
Don't, like, oh, a big event, like, oh, we're gonna put the Wither Dragon, the Wither together. All right, cool. Let me get there for it. Oh no, we already did it an hour ago. You weren't here. It's like I could have been on. I could have helped.
Dude,
Fun.
like Jay booted up the game earlier, and I took him to my castle, and I'm like, go in here. Here's my storage room. It's got over 100 chests of stuff. Take whatever you need. It's there. There's like 2 blocks of diamonds, and who knows what else is in there. I've got like four chests of sand. If you need sand, there it is. Take it. I don't need all of it. Anyway,
There you go. That it, brother?
what else have you been up to, Jay?
That's it.
Oh, that- yeah.
What have I been doing? Minecraft, asked and answered. Moving on. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being a part of Travelers on the Omnibus tonight. If you'd like to leave feedback, travelersontheomnibus@gmail.com. Again, that is travelers, 1L on the omnibus @gmail.com. Jody, how else can they get in touch with us?
You may address us directly through Spotify if you don't have to submit 15 new passwords.
Yes. Yeah. That is coming from a personal recollection of one Jody L. Kite. The L stands for La. I know it's Lee, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
it's
Forgot about it.
Yeah.
In addition, ladies and gentlemen, once again, thank you for being with us on the bus tonight. If you'd like what you're hearing, and you'd like to spread the word to people who listen on podcasts on avenues that you don't listen to them on, we're available on Spotify, Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and YouTube Music through the YouTube channel Travelers on the Omnibus.
Any feedback?
Nothing this week.
Nothing this week.
Nothing this week. The only thing we got now is that main topic. Ladies and gentlemen, we return from the deserts of Ghibli for our first, how best to put this, classic bit of all time for the podcast. It's another chalkboard, ladies and gentlemen. We decided on the top 5 scariest moments in video games. These don't necessarily have to be horror games. Some of them on the list are completely not horror games, or maybe they are. Who knows? But we're going to do our top 5 of that. If this is the first time you've ever been in a chalkboard situation, we each present our own top 5 lists. We then, out of those, pick 5, and then we rate them 1 to 5 until they are incontrovertibly, inarguably, inevitably the top 5 of that subject of all time. Period. No questions asked. End of story. All reservations against will be denied.
Who has the
Who
bullet?
has the bullet?
I had it last, and I gave it to Brady.
Oh, okay.
And
the
Brady
last
shot
chalkboard.
something.
Yes.
Yes.
So
So
it is
Brady-
Brady's
it is
will
your
to give it
option.
to someone.
So
do you,
I
want,
give it
do you
to-
want to give the bullet now, or do you want to wait?
Nah, let's wait.
We're going to wait on it. Okay, well, then in that case, Ethan Skinner, present your top 5 scariest video game moments of all time.
So I'd like to preface this. I hate horror games. However, I don't like being scared. I don't like purposely. I just don't like it.
Bianca found your Ashley Madison account.
Oh no.
Wow, that is
Deep cut. The
that
deepest.
reference is so dated. It's
The
gonna date
deepest.
this podcast. Jesus Christ.
You like that one? That was good. I had to pick the most preposterous thing because he legitimately doesn't have one of those.
No, I do not.
Yes.
However, there are things that I'm aware of within games, games I've watched people play, and very few horror games that I myself have played.
Yes.
Also, I just couldn't think of scary moments in non-horror games. So, don't. Okay.
Okay.
The number 5 is more so going to be a just like a. I'd like for this to be included in the list. I don't.
Are you stroking?
kind of a good job, buddy?
Yeah, kind of like a good job.
Okay.
One that I think should be mentioned.
Okay.
Honorable mentions should not make it onto the list. It should only be your top 5, but your
This
number
is how
5
much-
is
This
an
is going
honorable
to be
mention.
my-
This is how
is
much
going
he
to
was
be my
scraping
number
the
Would this
Yes.
be number 20 on the Miss Mojo list of
Oh, geez.
scary horror video games?
Jesus.
No. So growing up, I was a dumb kid in middle school. Everything I did after school was just watch YouTube.
Okay.
Okay.
That explains a lot, actually.
It does.
And there was a video I saw on a horror movie made in a horror game made in the 80s, I believe.
Okay.
Called Clock Tower.
Oh.
And
Clock Tower was the 90s.
it was the 90s. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I can remember. But the one thing that like distinctly remains in my mind is
Scissor hands.
when
Scissor Man.
The
Scissor man with the
is
scissor hands.
when you're walking through like this corridor in this big open room.
Mm-hmm.
Screen fades to black. Returns to the glass ceiling above, and the scissor man just plunges into the through the ceiling, stabbing this one lady and just plummeting to the ground in front of you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
I I don't think that's innately that didn't innately scare me, but I could see that that's like a defining moment for like scary moments.
Clock Tower series, you don't have a weapon. You just have to run and hide.
Run and hide, and then the fucking scissor man will just pop out of nowhere. It's like underneath the bed in a haystack.
It got worse later on. 3 was terrifying as well.
But my number 5 is the scissor man crashing through the glass ceiling.
I have it as Scissor Man diving impalement clock tower.
Yes. My number 4 is going to be I believe this is like the most recent game on my list. Yeah. Imagine you go to an island. You're trying to do some investigations on mysterious activity on this island.
But the whole island is dead.
No.
Okay.
You get to this kind man shows you to the barn that allows you to navigate throughout the entire island. However, you hear something in the distance, and as you hear this noise, it starts getting closer. But you hear chugga 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 chugga, and then all of a sudden the walls to this barn just like smashes open as you see a horrifying Thomas the Tank Engine about to demolish you. So my number 4 is the entrance of Choo Choo Charles. It is a demonic Thomas the Tank Engine with spider legs and a Pennywise grinning mouth. It gets to the point where if he catches you, he impales you and eats you.
What game is this from?
Choo Choo Charles.
Okay. The titular Choo Choo Charles.
I've written comments.
It's gonna be easy eliminating most of Ethan's off of the list.
Okay, gotcha. There's only 1 bullet.
We might not even need it.
Brady, you can get an extra 6 bullets, but you can only use them against one choice. Please continue, Ethan.
My number 3 is going to be from the Until Dawn series.
Oh yeah, yeah.
There's this one scene where there's a couple in a cabin. They're getting ready for some
Just right bear
intimate
trap
times.
right next to it.
Actually, no.
Oh, okay.
Oh, you got served.
And he didn't even play the game.
This game I actually did.
Oh, okay. Oh shit.
I saw people play this, and then it made me want to play this.
Oh, okay. Did it scare you?
Yes.
Okay.
It's on his list.
Yeah.
This wouldn't be on my list if it didn't scare me.
What about the other 2 things that you've talked about?
I didn't get to the specific scene.
Okay. Continue on.
2 people. They're in a cabin. They're getting
This
ready
one
for
list is going to take like 3 hours.
It is.
intimacy, and then they're interrupted by shenanigans happening outside.
Intimate. Do you mean intercourse? Is that what they're doing?
There's intimacy.
Sex fucking.
That.
Coitus.
Yes.
Squish, 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 squish.
The character Jessica.
Oh my god. Oh, this is going to be such a long episode.
Oingo boingo, and it has nothing to do with Danny Elfman.
Jessica gets kidnapped by a Wendigo and is sucked in.
There you go. That's
Yes.
the part we want to talk
Yes.
about.
Sir, say Wendigo.
Wendigo.
No, it's just Wendy.
Wendigo.
Jessica gets kidnapped by Wendy.
Not Jessica.
Oh,
Sorry,
no.
I'm gonna shut up. This is making it take way too long. I apologize.
Just out of nowhere, just like smashed through the door glass and just pulling her through the door. Just that jump scare got me.
Okay.
My number 2 is going to be from Dead Space 2.
Okay.
Probably one of the most iconic scene from this entire game would be the eye scene, where you're strapped to the chair and you the character are forcing yourself to stick a needle through your eye, and if you make one slight move, mismove, you just is like one of the most gruesome things I've seen in a game.
Oh yeah, you get completely impaled.
Yeah.
Guinea pig right through your face.
And then my number 1, the one game I will never play again in my entire life, not Amnesia. It is going to be from PT. When just any scene with Lisa or just the entirety of the game. It is
Yeah.
all around absolutely terrifying. The ominous feeling of dread and like fright just like overtakes me, and I absolutely hate it.
So Lisa is programmed in that game to always be right behind you in the game.
Yeah.
So when you're not looking, wherever you're not looking at,
Right.
she is always there.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's terrifying.
Yeah.
And you can't play it really. I
Well,
mean,
if you want to pay like
Do you want
$2,000
for
for
a
a
PS4?
PS4, yeah.
My brother in Washington still has his.
Oh, that's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. He could get a lot of money for that.
Yeah.
My first playthrough, I see the open door. I'm walking towards it. The door closes. I turn around and Lisa just jumps on me, and
Yeah.
I immediately turn the TV off.
Yeah.
that was supposed to be what, Silent Hills?
Especially like the demo for
Silent Hill.
PT's
unreleased-
playable trailer,
Yeah,
and,
playable trailer,
and
yeah.
at the end it reveals that it's Silent Hills, which never
Never
happened.
got made
And then it got
because
scrapped.
Hideo Kojima left Konami.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
because Hideo Kojima got thrown out of Konami
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
Konami doesn't know what the fuck they're doing.
This is true.
That is my list.
All right, very good.
What a list.
Some of these
Yes.
I figured like some people were going to do. Good list
All right,
for the most part.
all right. My number 5 is the piano from Big Boo's Hauntin' Super Mario 64. It's already like that is a true horror segment. Like
Yeah.
it really is. Like everything about that is a little weird and disconcerting. The eyes that follow you around and you have to make them spin fast so that they kill themselves. That but you walk in the room, there's a piano. It's like, okay, and then all of a sudden the piano just like is nothing but teeth. It's the piano from Hosu, and it just attacks you.
Yeah.
and it's just it's terrifying. This is a children's game.
Yeah.
and we're just getting fucking attacked by a fucking piano.
That was an interesting like evolution from the ghost houses that are in like Super Mario World. Because those always, as a kid, for some reason, always freaked me out as well.
They were a little spooky.
My number 4 comes from not the original, but for a lot of people, the original survival horror game, Resident Evil 1, the Doberman hallway. If you go to the hallway on the right on the ground floor at the start of the game, and you just are just walking or running through it, all of a sudden a Doberman from the outside will crash through the window and attack you. And it is terrifying. It is
Yeah.
terrifying then. It is terrifying now. And there is another scene from the sequel that is equally terrifying.
We'll talk about that later.
Okay, I was wondering if there might be a spoiler for that, so that's why I haven't mentioned it yet. But yeah, my number 3, creepers, all of them from Minecraft. You have been mining for hours. You are at the bottom of a goddamn tunnel surrounded by fucking lava. Everything is great. You have everything. You just need to get one more diamond, and then you turn around, and the creeper you didn't hear just goes tss, and explodes and sends you straight out into the lava, and everything is gone. It is the most terrifying moment in a game based off of voxels that I've ever seen in my fucking life. Ugh. My number 2, the original from Five Nights at Freddy's. It's Golden Freddy.
Okay.
Every jump scare in this game is kind of preparable for, like, you've got cameras on them, you've seen them all before, and whenever they move from their spot, that's when you know, okay, I've got to make sure I get these doors closed. I need to make sure I get this hallway, flash this light, everything. If I do that, everything will be fine. Golden Freddy doesn't appear, except every so often he'll randomly be sitting right across from you at your desk, and if you let him linger too long, it'll do a jump scare of the head and the game will crash out. You don't close the game closes itself. It plays with meta, it plays with your intentions of what's going on in the game. It is, honestly, it's one of my favorite jump scares in that game, because the original Five Nights at Freddy's is good at building tension. If that is where your tension gets relieved and kind of fucks with you, that is a tremendously good jump scare. And it's like, honestly, it's probably my second favorite rather, jump scare of all time. But number 1, it comes from, and this one's going to be a long one, Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem. It is the bathtub scene.
Yeah.
Okay.
For anyone who has never played this before, that is a shame. This is, to me, a must play. But during the game, you have a sanity meter, and whenever you encounter monsters, you lose sanity. Some monsters, when they damage you, you will take sanity damage along with physical damage. As your sanity drops, the game starts fucking with you. I don't mean the game fucks with your character. The game fucks with the player.
Yeah.
You'll be walking around and your head will fall off, but you're still walking around. What's going on? And then you'll flash and say, no, it was just a dream. You'll go to save your file and say, deleting everything. What the fuck? It fucks with you. Your TV will turn off.
Yeah, it doesn't tell you that it's going to delete your save for this game. It is deleting your entire, is scrubbing your
entire
memory card.
Memory card, the whole thing.
Yeah.
You love that playthrough of Super Mario Sunshine. It's gone, ladies and gentlemen.
Fuck you.
The bathtub scene.
This scene.
This is not. I'm not actually familiar. I know a lot about this game, but I'm not familiar with this particular
This scene, like, I'm spoiling it. I really don't want to, but I also want to bring attention to this.
Yeah,
Whether
but it's
to
an old
1,
game that
10, or
it
100
is
people.
almost impossible to get a hold of. So
Unless you want to pay like $300 to
Or you want to do something that starts with the letter E, which may be illegal, but who knows? But your sanity also drops at the end of the chapters. It's kind of told almost like an epistolary video game, is the best way to put it.
yeah,
With journal entries that you play out as the characters. And when it gets back to your character, your sanity drops in kind. If you go up to the second floor, there's a bathroom. And normally you go over there's nothing really going on in the bathroom. But if your sanity is low enough, you'll go over to the bathtub and it'll say check. And it looks like there's something in the bathtub. And then you check button and it does in a stop frame movement, like 3, 2, 1. You zoom in on your body as you have committed suicide and the whole bathtub is filled with blood in your body.
Damn.
It is the most perfectly done jump scare in the history of video games for me, and for that reason it is my number one on that. It's so well done. It is so well done.
That's a good list.
The entire room that was playing that game, because we had like 4 people puff giving with the controller on that. I think it was my friend Veronica had that, and as a woman she was doubly scared because Alex Roivas is a woman and she kind of looked like Alex Roivas, and so it really fucked with her.
Ooh, damn.
And so she was like, "Yeah, I'm good. We don't have to play this anymore." And we didn't play it anymore that night. We did finish it. However, it's very good.
Yeah,
it's a very
I've
good
heard
game.
good things. Nothing but good things about it.
That is my top 5. Brady, firing to you, sir.
All right, number 5. So most of mine are going to be like older games, and we'll get it as to why in a second. So a while back there was this game called Fear, Fear, and it was for the most part it was a pretty normal like just first person shooter, except that you were being haunted by a little fucking girl, and it would fuck with you in so many ways. One way was that you would be just like, okay, we got to get to this ladder. I'm climbing up this ladder. And then you climb up the ladder, and the little girl's just standing there, and you're like, oh, what the fuck? So you go back down a little bit, and you come back up, and she's gone. So the ladder climb in Fear is my number 5. There was also a moment where you would just be running down a hallway.
Oh, yeah.
And then the hallway would you would be running down towards like a wall in the hallway, and like the wall would just disappear, and you'd be like, oh, I'm in a different place. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Fear was one of the early ones where it was just like, let's do first person shooter where we're doing all the normal first person shooter things, but let's make it horror. So
it was really good.
That was very,
too.
very interesting. As the games went on, they got worse and worse, but this was like the peak of it.
It was the best
The
one.
little girl's name is Alma.
Alma, yeah.
Which is Spanish for spirit.
Yeah.
Did not know.
Number 4. So there was this game called Left 4 Dead, and if you're playing it, you usually play the first mission that you play is getting to the hospital. And,
No mercy.
And you have made it through waves and waves. You've made it down the apartment building that you start on, and you've made it through waves of zombies that are in the streets, and you come to a warehouse, and you hear a little girl crying, and you are like, what the fuck is that? And you eventually come from the distance, it looks like a little girl or a young woman, like just sitting there crying, and she's sobbing. And somebody goes, well, what the fuck is that? And you walk up to it,
And you die.
And then she screams at you. Giant claws pop out, and she jumps on you, and you immediately fall down, dying.
You die.
And she jumps on top of you, and all you can see is her slashing claws at you. You have met the witch, and you are fucked. This is like one of the scariest things that I've ever come across in a video game.
And Ethan she's really fucking fast. If
She is
you shoot her
incredibly-
from a distance, you better kill her.
She is, if whoever disturbs the witch gets attacked by the witch and she is one hit and you are down. That mean and you have, and everybody else has to basically empty clips into her to kill her because she is a bullet sponge as well.
Yep.
So that's number 4.
On hard mode, you don't even get knocked down; you just die.
Oh shit!
Yeah.
I never played in hard. I never
Yeah.
had the balls to play in hard mode.
Yeah.
Fucking regular mode was hard enough.
Yep.
Especially if you were playing the No Mercy scenario. So, number 3. So we've talked about like jump scares and everything. I'm going to talk about a little bit of a slow burn. So the first season of the Walking Dead game from Telltale Games, back when they were really good. In the second episode, you start off kind of holed up, and your entire crew is is basically starving. Like you can't find food. There's even a part in the beginning where you have to choose who gets like these scraps, and there's like a piece of jerky, like an apple. Like you have to split these up amongst people and decide who eats and who doesn't. And there's like children with you and everything.
It's
and
rough.
your character has met Clementine and is kind of taking her under your wing. Her parents are dead. She's an orphan. And you eventually come across these really nice people living in the woods, and they're really inviting. And they're really cool, and they sit you down for dinner. Well, while everybody's getting ready for dinner, you kind of start exploring, and you notice some weird things in some of the rooms, and then you make it to the attic where they have started butchering one of the members of your group, and you realize that they are serving you human food, and you have to rush down, and the horror that sets in when you realize, oh my God, I have to, like with me, in that game, I had a very deep connection to the Clementine character. Like I felt like I was like taking care of her. So you have to like bum rush downstairs to stop her from eating human meat. And depending on how well you do, you don't always make it in time. But yeah, the revelation of the cannibal family is some of the best like slow burn horror in a video game that I've ever seen. The Walking Dead, and I had forgotten about The Walking because it's been so long, but that first season, I never played any of the other seasons, even though I heard like the second season was also very good. I just never got around to playing it. But the Walking Dead, the first season of that is like so good. And is like really good with the horror, and this is like a very good example of like a slow burn horror in video game. The second one, so like Jay had mentioned, in Resident Evil 2, there's a similar thing that happens. So, and this one I didn't play. I watched a friend play this, but I watched him play like most of the game. And there's a moment where you go into their interrogation room. And you're and you have like the one-way mirror, you have the one-way mirror in there, and you look for something. I can't remember exactly what, but you're looking for something, and you pick it up, and then as you go to leave, a fucking licker jumps out, and you have seen the lickers, and these are like some scary motherfuckers. Like these are like a dog to me was like, is like the dog is like super scary, but the licker is like something that you're
terrifying.
worried about.
Yeah.
Because it really doesn't have any reference to like that's a dog. This is something
demonic.
Totally fucking different. But yeah, that I remember, and I had never played or really known much about the Resident Evil 2 was was my first introduction to the Resident Evil series.
Right.
I didn't know very much about Resident Evil 1. So that one that really had the introduction to the first introduction to the liquor is also like a very good. That was an honorable mention. I kind of went back and forth because there's this like cinematic that plays where it's like you see a dead body and you look and he slowly looks up and it's like hanging from the fucking ceiling.
And it's a callback from, I want to just say this real quick, it's a callback from what they do in Resident Evil 1 with the Dobermans, because when you go through that hallway the first time, like me and Jay were talking about before off mic, when you go through that hallway the first time, nothing happens.
Yeah.
When you walk back through it, that's when it happens, and the same thing happens during that liquor scene too.
Yeah, I think the liquor
better for this because the room it comes out of, you can enter into, and it's not there.
Right.
Which gives you this false notion that these things are moving independent of what screen I'm on.
So the first one, before I talk about the first one, I have a confession to make. I, like Ethan, do not like horror video games. That's why when you think about all of these horror video games, and I had a really hard time kind of with this because I don't play horror games. In fact, Fear, never played it. I've just seen that part and it scared the shit out of me. Resident Evil 2, haven't played that. I was surprised. I thought most of these were going to be things that I had never even played, but I was able to like remember some of these things that it's been a very long time that I was able to actually bring back.
Right.
But yeah, I don't play horror games.
Yeah.
That's why like you were talking about Amnesia, not ever going to play that shit. Dead Space, I played the demo, played 10 minutes of the demo and turned
Checked
that
out.
motherfucker off. The first time I had to fight a necromorph, I was like, fuck you. I literally was walking because I knew that they jumped out, and I was literally like walking with whatever little pissant gun they start with.
Right.
It jumps out. I go, click, 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 click. It kills me, and then I'm like, okay, I don't need to play this anymore.
I've had my fill.
Yeah. I don't like them. I have nothing against them. I don't like to play them. Now, that being said, there's a game called BioShock. Now I'm not gonna I never saw this one actually. I looked through a lot of lists to kind of remind me of things. I never saw this one. I think I bring this up all the time, and I think I might be the only person who like has experienced this particular thing. So you go to one part called Fort Frolic, and you meet Sander Cohen. And he's this like really pretentious guy. He's this artist who is like, oh, art above everything, and like you have to go do he sends you on a quest to take pictures of these to kill people and then take pictures of them because he's got his masterpiece that he's building. Now all throughout Fort Frolic you see there's not a whole lot of people there, but you see statues and they're all like in plaster, and if you're just like saying, haha, this is funny, let me take my little wrench and let me hit one of them, and it starts bleeding, and you realize this motherfucker is killing these people, and he is putting them in plaster and setting them up as statues all over the place. So that's creepy. So you could just wander into this bar, okay? And I'm looking around, and I find underneath the actual bar, there's a button that you can press, and it opens up a secret door. And the door, and it comes to this like basement tunnel type thing where where it's an L shape, and right in the corner of the L, like in that turn, there is a statue sitting in a chair facing against the door. Facing against the wall, and you're looking, and I just looked at it and I was like, oh, that's funny, ha ha ha. And at the very end, there is there's an upgrade machine for your weapons. So I'm like, oh sweet, I found a cool little upgrade thing. This is cool. What am I gonna upgrade? Oh, well, I think I'm gonna upgrade my shotgun. And then I go, okay, that's cool. And whenever you upgrade something, it automatically comes to your to whatever you upgraded. So it changes your weapon. And I turn around, and the statue, so there are guys with like hooks, and it's one of these guys. And I turn around, and the statue is just sitting there, and it's got his hands up in like a pose. And then I go, what the fuck? And as soon as I go, what the fuck? It attacks me. I was like, oh shit!
That's the sound of
I'm
poop
playing this
coming
at
out of
night. Everybody else is asleep.
Yeah.
I immediately turn. I quick save the game, turn the game off, and go the fuck to sleep. And I don't play it for like 3 days. This to me is the scariest moment because this is the moment that I experienced. I don't play horror games, so I don't experience these. Right. And I had never seen that. Like you walk through this whole entire area and you see these things and nothing ever happens with them.
Right.
And this one time, it jumps out. I've seen other things written about different other horror moments in BioShock, but I've never seen this one written about. So I think because it's kind of a secret area, it's not well known. But yeah, for me, this is the scariest moment in any video game that I've ever played because I just don't play those horror games, and this deeply affected me. Again, I fucking turned to the game. I saved the game and turned it off and was like, fuck this game for like 3 days.
I love the BioShock aesthetic.
Yeah.
I refuse to play BioShock because
For
I
the
don't
most
like
part, it's a little creepy, but it's not that scary.
Right, like the big daddies are just weird.
Yeah.
and
They are intimidating and they're scary in some ways because they can just whoop your ass.
right.
But like you're never surprised by them. This is like the one part that really like scared the shit out of me.
Right.
There was my brother. I was watching my brother play. My brother played this, and he got to the dentist.
I don't even think I made it because the dentist is optional. I don't think I ever even made it to the dentist, but I saw this. This was the one that I saw when people were talking about BioShock.
Yeah,
this is the
that's
part.
one of the ones they talk about a lot.
Yeah.
I love the aesthetic. I love everything about it. I will not play BioShock.
BioShock is really, really good. I thoroughly enjoyed it as a game.
Yeah.
But there are parts in it that scared the shit out of me because I just wasn't expecting. I wasn't expecting like because up until then it hadn't really been like much of a horror game.
That's why I like BioShock 2. I'm playing one of the big daddies.
Yeah, or BioShock Infinite. There's like nothing scary in that one. Yeah,
but BioShock 1, no.
Yeah, it's the best one though. Like it's really fucking good. So yeah, that's my list.
All right, Jody.
Imagine, if you will, Ethan.
Okay.
You're on a mission to save the president's daughter. All right, you're on an island.
Okay. Yeah.
Well, not an island. You're in the like dark European backwoods.
The Iberian Peninsula.
Yeah, there we go. You're in the Iberian Peninsula, and you come across some like very agitated villagers, agitated to the point of where you have to shoot them. Right? You know, they look mostly normal, maybe a little jaundice, like they're kind of pale, kind of yellowy. And you move through the game. Then you have to go through like almost an entire village, and you're like, oh, these are not zombies. These are like people that you're having to deal with. And then you get to this one part, and in most of the games that came before this in the Resident Evil series, you had normal zombies, but again, these look like regular people. They're just really, really like pale and yellowy looking. And then
they look like normal Eastern Europeans.
They do. Until you do.
They're Spanish. That's why it's pesetas everywhere.
Which normally would kill like a zombie in these games, or like any other game would like definitely take out anybody. And that's when you shoot them in the head. Except this time you shoot one of these motherfuckers in the head, and these knife tentacles shoot out of the neck and start whirling around, and you're like, what the fuck just happened? That scared the shit out of me the first time it happened to me.
Oh yeah, not knowing that where that's coming from is a big surprise in that game.
So the next one is, imagine you're a photographer and you're going into a haunted house and you want to take pictures of like, hopefully you can capture some ghost pictures, like one of those special paranormal cameras, right?
I think I know what you're talking about.
You just have a camera though. You don't have anything else. And you walk in and you're walking around and you're taking pictures and everything's kind of cool, and you see some little after images or whatever. And then while you're looking through the camera, you see that there's a figure, a spectral figure, like sort of like standing up from inside of a chest. And you go, oh, that's scary as fuck. And then you take a picture and nothing happens. Except they keep moving towards you, and you take another picture. This camera is supposed to do something, right? And right when they get there, boom. You capture their spirit in the camera, but not after you shit your pants because it wasn't stopping. Yeah, fatal frame.
First ghost
the
encounter.
First ghost encounter. Now, the third choice is from the third game of a series, and it's not a horror game, although horrific things can happen to you in it, and you do see horrific things as well. And it's one of those like open world games. You're walking around in the wasteland, and you're having a good old time, and you come across this random set of houses like in the middle of the desert, and you checking them out or whatever. And there's one house in this little like neighborhood in the middle of nowhere. There's a family here. And they're very friendly. They're like, "Hello, stranger. We don't see many around here like you." And you're like, "Man, these people are really like overly excited to see me." And they go, "Why don't you stay for dinner?" Like, "Sure." And you start poking around, and you go to the back of the house, and there's a shed with a lock on it, and they're not looking. You wait till they go to sleep, and you pick the lock, and you go inside the shed, and there's nothing but blood and body parts everywhere. That shit scared the fuck out of me. I was like, "Oh God." And then you turn around, you walk out the door, and you go, "What are you doing? Why are you here? We're going to have to kill you now." And then everybody, including the kids, have knives, and there it is. So that's Fallout 3. And so for me, and this may or may not be considered like a quote unquote boring or stereotypical choice here. But for me personally, this is how I was affected by it, because this was the first survival horror video game I had played. Because again, like, Sweet Home, nobody really knew about that during the time period when that came out over here or Japan or wherever. So playing Resident Evil 1 for the first time, and the terrible dialogue ensues, and you go upstairs for the first time.
You were almost a Jill sandwich. Okay,
Yes.
so I had to get that one out there.
Here, you are the picker
Take
of locks.
this lockpick as the master of unlocking.
Yeah, I was the master of unlocking. So you
They
go.
really gave Barry a shit bunch, all of the shit lines.
You go upstairs and you take a left turn, and you see what looks like a figure hunched over another body on the floor. And you're like, "Huh, that's interesting." And it goes to a freeze frame of a zombie with blood coming out of its mouth, and then all of a sudden it stands up and turns around, and that's your first encounter in that game, and it scared my pants off. And then there's Silent Hill 2. It's already a creepy situation anyway.
Yeah.
You're walking around in the fog. You're dealing with a situation. You're playing a Silent Hill game. So if you played the first one, you know you're going to be in for a wild ride. And it's not a jump scare. You hear the sound of like scraping metal, and then you see him, Pyramid Head. Oh my God.
Yeah.
I was like, do I have to deal with this all the time?
Yes.
You do.
Yes.
You have to deal with it all the time.
That's your life now, James. Just deal with it.
That's mine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So good news, guys. No crossovers.
That's interesting. We did get two different cannibal families.
And so much so is I will now start the debate with which cannibal family gets on the list. I vote Telltale Games.
Yeah. Most people are probably going to be more familiar with Fallout 3's cannibal family, but I didn't make it that far in Fallout 3 because I had my brain would not let me.
Yeah.
They're also both ranked at number 3 on both lists.
That is interesting. Yeah.
Interesting.
Man, Jay, if you would have ranked your Resident Evil 1 at 2, then we would have all had our Resident Evils at 2.
No, he would have also, because he had Dead Space there for the answer.
Well, I mean, everybody who put Resident Evil would have had
Resident
it at
Evil
2.
stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, we have Jody has multiple Resident Evils. He has 4 and 1.
I have 2, yeah.
I have 1. You have 2. I don't see any Resident Evils.
I think
on
everybody
Ethan's list.
one of these things with Resident Evil needs to make it on there.
Agreed. As really the first popular one, I think for the genre. I think that I think that's something to consider. There.
And which one? To be honest, I don't. To be honest with your
If
Resident
we
Evil
want
4,
to
I
stay
thought you were going to do the chainsaw guy, the first when you see the chainsaw.
Oh, yeah.
man
His
attack.
name's Doctor something. I can't remember.
And until then, like you can just fight off people, but then he just murders the shit out of you
Yeah.
immediately.
Mhm.
Like
Stay there, yeah.
there's no fighting him off.
Then a random troll guy shows up in 4.
Yeah.
There's also the
No,
case
not
of the
just a
bullet.
troll guy. A whole troll.
A whole troll, yeah.
Yeah, a whole Spanish troll.
I think the most interesting choice for the bullet is Jay.
All right, I will get the bullet. All right,
Yes.
I will hold on to the bullet for a second.
Okay.
All right, so let's. Okay, so that seemed really popular to folks on the Resident Evil. Let's try to get a Resident Evil moment on the list. So we have the Doberman hallway, the first zombie FMV. We have Las Plagas reveal, and we have the dual mirror liquor in the interrogation room. All strong.
Yeah.
I'm partial to the Doberman hallway. Like, this did not personally scare me, but our good friend of the podcast and fellow podcaster Jason Holder mentioned that if this wasn't on here and if the ghost babies from Silent Hill 1 weren't on here, he was gonna have a problem with us. I put this one on here because of the impact of this scene. He is not the only person that has ever told me that this scene is the one that fucked with him
if you
in that game.
like looking up lists, this one was on every single one. I had to like specially look up because I couldn't remember exactly every detail of the dual mirror. I just remember that thing jumping out.
This is towards sound design. The sound design of Resident Evil 2, when the liquor comes through, that literally sounds like a mirror is breaking.
Yeah.
For me, the Doberman hallway, again, it was spoiled for me. It also kind of just sounded like a glass, not glass breaking, but a glass breaking. I thought the sound was a little off for it, but again, like, this one was more power and history behind this one.
I think for me, out of all of them, Brady's liquor scared me the most out of all of them compared to each other. Because of you hear the and then you hear the dripping of the blood and there he is.
Yeah.
Okay, so are we pushing more towards the two-way mirror liquor? Is that what I'm hearing? Ethan, what about you, brother?
No, it's not two-way for me. Oh, was that two-way mirror?
Yeah,
liquor?
Yes, that scene specifically.
I got you.
I mentioned as a kind of honorable mention the liquor reveal.
Yeah,
the
right.
first time you see that, but for me it was the dual mirror.
Yeah, no, I have to agree with you.
For me, I've not played the only Resident Evil game I played was 7 as a cruel joke by our good friend Winter.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because the Ethan is the named character.
Funny enough, like I'm thinking of actually, I keep saying that I'm going to go back and play Resident Evil Village, but I'm not touching Resident Evil 7 with a fucking 10-foot pole. Fuck that.
You're just
or any of the remakes. I could probably actually go by and not have too much of a problem playing the original, like Resident Evil 1 and 2.
Dude, R2 is way scarier. The remake is way scarier.
But the remakes,
oh my God,
all of them are
it's so much scarier.
Are fucking ridiculous.
From all the lists that I've seen trying to make my list, I've seen the Doberman hallway the most.
Yeah,
But
I
at
feel
the same
like
time,
one of those jump scares.
So can we say, okay, so the first, so from Jody's list, unfortunately, the first zombie and Las Plagas reveal will table those out, and then we have.
I think it's the Doberman versus the liquor.
It's Doberman versus liquor, and we're kind of 2 for 2 here.
We could come back to it, but
I'm okay with like the Doberman because that is the original one, and that is the one that you're going to see most when people talk about it. I do want to call out that like most of our lists are kind of on the older side. You don't see any of the newer, most of the newer games.
Wait, what are you talking about? You got Fear, you got Choo Choo Charles.
Yeah. I think
your
Until
first
Dawn.
one was Scissor Man, which is a Super Nintendo game.
Yeah. I just remember that with the Scissor Man, just the scissors that are on like the cover of Clock Tower. Like the blade scissors.
I feel Doberman hallway. I think are like, is it enough?
I'm okay with that. Like I'm not gonna fight.
That's fine.
The liquor had a strong because that was the one that
that's fine.
That I dealt with, but like the Doberman is like the classic.
It's the classic one that everybody.
I think the liquor wouldn't have happened. The dual mirror one wouldn't have happened without the Doberman. Like that's basically a callback, and they just did it a little bit better.
It is,
especially again sound design wise, it was way better.
Yeah, it was just like they were like, okay, we have this scare. Let's figure out a way to do it again, but a little bit better.
All right, so we've mentioned most of this is older. Let's look at the modern games.
Okay.
All right, we've got Until Dawn. Dead Space 2, I think, applies there as well.
You got PT. That was 2014.
PT, I would say that as well.
Yeah. Nothing newer is on mine. Like my most recent thing was a PlayStation 3 game.
So I think definitely Five Nights at Freddy's, I think, is technically a part of that as well. Though it's It's a way different setup for there. So
Yeah.
modern horror, the most modern horror stuff. Let's see if we can get one of the. Let's see if we can justify that group getting.
Sure.
I vote PT. Like
PT.
I have not and will not ever play that game. Even if I have a chance to, but like everything that I have seen has just been like the way that the game fucks with you.
So a little story. I did not know what this was.
Oh fuck!
So I go to my grandmother's house. I want to say this.
Your grandmother's an asshole. She made you play this.
No, that's history. That's how
My
it's
grandma
now.
made
No
her
matter
play
what you say,
PT.
no matter
Yeah.
what you say, in my head canon, your
Yes.
grandmother
Yeah.
made you play PT.
And she's got like
Okay.
a fucking
That's your headcanon.
She's got a Western Union blunderbuss, and
Yeah.
she's just like, "You better play it, boy."
yeah.
I'm gonna hang out with my brother. He goes, "Hey Ethan, you want to play a game?" I'm like, "Sure." He sets it up. He gives me like his PlayStation headphones.
Oh
like,
Jesus! He
yeah,
made you
it's
play
like-
it with headphones.
Yeah, it's like, "Hey,
Oh my
just
God.
play this. Play this. You'll enjoy it."
Jody, do you
No,
have any
it is-
disagreement on this
Well,
as far as the modern genre goes?
modern. We have. We also have like BioShock is also in that as well because it's the same about the same time.
well,
as-
Bioshock was PlayStation 3 and
360, and so was Fear.
yeah, but
right.
That's not all. That's
Right,
We
right,
weren't
right.
talking about that one either.
Well, okay. Yeah, PT's fine.
PT's fine.
Yeah, PT's fine.
All right, PT is on the list. All right. Does anybody see any kind of genres we can cut out or anything else of that variety?
I don't know. To be honest, like most of mine, I knew was not gonna really.
That's how I felt too.
Well, I mean, no, your
Oh.
list is like super strong. Like,
Yeah, no, you have a very good list here.
like
yeah.
Fatal Frame, Silent Hill 2. I was hoping somebody had Silent
The
Hill 2.
thing about Fatal Frame is, in order to beat the ghosts, they have to be on top of you, or the camera. Like you said, you find out.
I've
through
always
first
heard that the Fatal Frame
yeah.
games are like some
Those
of the scariest
first two,
games.
absolutely.
Yeah.
The later ones, which I think
There was one that
played-
was something Butterfly.
That
I
was the
remember
second one.
the-
that
yeah,
one.
Yeah,
the-
Crimson
and-
Butterfly.
Crimson Butterfly.
Crimson
okay.
Butterfly, and then you have Maiden of Black Water, which is one of the more modern ones. That one focused more on cheesecake, and that was not for me as evocative as those first two were.
The first two.
I'm thinking about Silent Hill too. Just like the presence of Pyramid Head and how he's always
Yeah,
there.
the intro of him is like really strong, and then there's the other. I'm surprised you didn't do the other well-known scene with Pyramid Head.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about that.
Yeah, that one always
Really and
comes up
truly,
too.
like I've got him down as just Pyramid Head here because every time he's in there, except for the last battle with the two of them, which is more of you establishing a control over your desires and therefore they kill each other, which is symbolically how you're supposed to read that.
Right.
But really, the true ending of the game it was a Shiba Itsu that was
Yeah.
controlling the thing all the time.
Yeah, that's the one that we own. That's the only one that
It's
we
the only
recognize.
canon. Before we put anything else on, I want to make a personal plea. I really need Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem's bathtub scene to be on there because it is
Eternal Darkness
fucking
is
terrifying.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness is. I'm
There's
okay.
some tough decisions in this because I think that
Yeah,
there are
no,
a
there
lot of strong stuff.
And we got
in here.
I didn't want to like get to the last one and like I have a really strong personal plea to get
Yeah.
this one. We have some open spots left. Unless you've experienced it, and honestly, let me apologize to y'all and to the passengers right now because I've spoiled it. It will not have, like, for instance, the Doberman scene does not have the impact for me because
Yeah.
it was spoiled for me before I ever had to
Right.
experience it. I'm doing the same to y'all with this, but I need you all to understand this thing is
well, I mean,
so
we were
terrifying.
kind of doing that with all of these. But like I said before, like Eternal Darkness is like a super hard game to if you didn't play it back in the day on a GameCube, which I had the chance to, but again, I don't like horror games, so I wasn't
Right.
anywhere near it.
Yeah.
Right.
But you're probably not going to ever be able to play it, like
Right.
unless you go out of your way to or
or
spend a
get
whole lot
super
of-
lucky.
Yeah. So I don't think I understand what you're saying with the spoiling, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. Most of the stuff I didn't remember this part of Sanity's Requiem, but most of like the big parts I've been told already. So yeah.
I'm okay with Eternal Darkness.
I have no opposition.
Yeah, Eternal Darkness is fine. Like that's one of the super,
from that time.
most
period.
talked about
Yeah.
horror
Thank you.
games.
I thank you, gentlemen. All right, so we have 2 spots left now. Horror works because I've just mentioned this. Horror works when it's fresh. So we have Fatal Frame's first ghost. We have the first zombie reveal in Resident Evil 1. Hang on, I think we got some other ones. We mentioned the witch and the first time you ever have to deal with a witch, particularly
That's pretty early in that game.
Yeah.
pretty compressed area. Depending on how the director, which is the AI that kind of like wants to throw shit at you, depending on how that. A lot of my witches were down long streets, and I had a sniper rifle. Made the job way easier.
I
Just
seem
saying.
to always get her in like a warehouse where there was nothing else and it was completely dark.
She was in front of the hospital the first time I came across her.
I've played it before where she's been in front of the hospital and that fucking sucks.
There was one time it spawned her on top of the manhole as you're coming out of the sewer. You can't avoid her. You have to brush her, which means she triggers.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
it's not just reminder, it's not just shooting her, it's touching her.
Yeah.
If
If you get near her, she slowly starts it, but if you make contact with the model's hitbox,
Right.
boom,
Yeah.
it's done.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What we did there was I can't remember who sat in the Molotov, but they threw the Molotov at their own feet, shot up at her, and ran. And so when she came down, she landed in the fire, and then we all just gunned her down with what we had
Jesus.
left. Yeah. When the witch shows up, you have to account for the witch.
Yeah.
Always. Period. The Scissor Man, that diving impalement is the first time you
Yeah.
ever deal with the Scissor Man. So we have a lot of firsts on this list.
I would also say like the first time you ever like go up a ladder in fear, just the first time seeing her. I would
That's a
also
good
say
one.
that would also
Yeah.
be,
That's a good one too. So we have a lot of horror firsts. I think that should be a consideration for what is everybody thinking about there?
For me personally, if we're talking about firsts, I could see the first time you see Golden Freddy in Five Nights, but that is me.
Yeah.
It's on my list, so
Yes.
like I am contractually bound to agree with
But
you.
at the same time, I know that there's a whole slew of other options that
Yeah.
are more impactful than
Well, and also, real quick with this, you have to deal with this zombie. With the first zombie in Resident Evil 1. Eventually, it's either finish it off there or you move into the other room and you have the in-game cutscene of where we take care of it there. The Las Plagas reveal where the dude's just walking in darkness, all of a sudden his head explodes and he has a bone spur on the end of a tentacle that just rips you to shreds. That's something you've got to deal with there, and you have to figure out how to do there. Alma at the top of the thing. It's like, okay, this whole game has changed now. What the fuck's going on? The Witch, what we've just talked about here. Scissor Man, again, that's the first moment where you're playing a horror game. You know there's going to be a horror, but this is the first moment of horror. Golden Freddy, all you have to do with Golden Freddy is switch back to to looking at the cameras again. And if you do that, the Golden Freddy thing goes away.
Yeah.
You can accidentally bypass Golden Freddy.
Yeah.
It's still terrifying when this thing fires off. But I think as far as a first goes, I think those are more impactful because you have to do more to deal
I've
with it.
played Clock Tower. I've played Fear. I've played Left 4 Dead. I've played Fatal Frame.
Did you play Mario 64 with the piano?
No. So for me, out of all of those quote unquote first, it's the witch from Left 4 Dead. That's me. That's my choice.
I also want to put a point against Golden Freddy. I wouldn't vote for Five Nights at Freddy's.
Yeah.
I think it's an overrated game, and I don't like it. Even if I liked horror games, I don't think that I would like it.
I
And
like the simplicity of it. Like the simplicity
if we're just
is
going back to the first one, that's one thing. But like it also, with me in my head, it comes with all the other baggage of all the shit that I've had to watch the fucking movie. So like
that is true. For me, my top
that's
two.
the scariest thing, that I had to sit through that shit.
My top two. The reason why this really kind of is my top two is both of these fuck with you on a meta level. Golden Freddy doesn't just like kill you; it crashes the game.
Yeah.
But if we're going back to our first category here, back to
You're
that.
saying the witch.
I'm saying the witch.
yeah,
I feel very strongly for that too.
I would.
I have no opposition.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is less about fear and more about, okay, we have to really stop and think about how we're dealing with this now.
Well, if you don't know what you're dealing with and you just see
that
a
is
crying,
that is
this
also
what-
another
my
that is
experience
another
with
thing
that
that is scary if you don't know.
My
I kind of
experience
knew
with
about
that
the
character was, oh, it's a crying person.
Yeah.
I'm gonna go talk to her because I've never played this game before, and this is in a time period where the internet hasn't ruined everything.
Yeah.
So it scared the
Well,
ever
before
living
then,
shit out of me.
It's either been a zombies that are just standing around that are obviously zombies
Right.
that attack you, or it's been some giant monster that you have to deal with.
She's so
Some
unassuming
special
at first.
monster that you've had to deal with, and this really catches you off guard.
I played this online first, so I played it with a group of people. And it's like, and so it's like my first thing is witch. It's like, okay, what's going on? It's like everybody, okay, so we're all like, and so now we're like, this is where the meta ruined the fear, the fear.
I get
because-
that.
Yeah, no, and I don't want to take away from that. For me, why I am going with that. There's still this fear of this is something we have to contend with now.
Yeah,
and we have to take special fucking precautions.
You're until then, like, yeah, and I get that. I fortunately was able to play it multiplayer, but just with a friend playing with me.
Couch co-op. Yeah.
Until then, like you are playing a specific type, like you are approaching pretty much everything the same way, where you're just like, okay, let me get into a better position. Either they're going to come running at me and I just basically start mowing them down, or I see them at a distance and we get kind of set up and go out. And then when you hear the crying, even after you've already know this, you're like, oh shit, we have to do things very differently now.
And even though, we're not doing the top 5 jump scares. Like
Yeah.
it's the fear of, even if
Yeah.
you're still afraid that your character is going to die.
It's the tension of that.
Right.
Yeah.
That's-
I think we basically talked ourselves into the witch.
Well, like we're all taking different roads that are leading to the same argument. Which gets on the
Put
board.
her on there.
Ethan,
Yeah.
do you have any objections?
No opposition.
Okay.
So the witch.
All right. This last one's is tough.
Yep.
Yes.
'Cause
Now
we have a lot of really good
Stuff
things.
that's all
And
over
the
place here.
the bullet is still in play.
Yeah.
I have no reason to fire it right now.
Okay.
Do we see any more themes on the board?
I don't think so.
I would like one of the cannibals to be put on there, but I feel like that would leave off some very important things that I don't want to leave off there.
Okay, erase the cannibals. What are you talking about?
Well, like I think Silent Hill 2 and Fatal Frame, one of those being on there and getting kicked off by the other doesn't feel bad, but
Right,
like that feels bad if I'm like, hey, let's go with The Walking Dead instead of Silent Hill 2. That's a big one. I think the piano from Super Mario 64 is an interesting one because it's a horror thing in a non-horror game. Same thing, you could say the same thing with Creepers with Minecraft, but I don't have that connection with Minecraft, so I'm certain that my kids would probably want that one on there, but fuck them kids. They're never gonna listen to this, even if I told them to. Especially if I told them to.
If we're talking about like tension when it comes to like a scene, there's the eye scene and Dead Space.
Yeah.
It's like one misinput and you just fucking die.
Yeah, that's a big tension. I like that.
But at the same time, there's also just Pyramid Head as a person.
And Pyramid Head is not a jump scare. It's always
it's
what you're
not.
just. It's
Yeah.
just like, oh my god, this is a thing that I have to
Yes.
deal with now. Holy shit! It's kind of like Mr. X,
Mr. X
in Resident Evil 2. Which
Let's try something. I'm gonna try
Okay,
this.
okay,
okay.
This will be edited down for the audience. But
Okay.
everybody, look at the board. When you've got your answer, raise your hand. And then at the count of 3, we say out loud what our choice is. I've got mine locked in. 1, 2, 3. Fatal
Fatal
Frame.
Sign
Frame.
here too.
I heard Fatal Frame and Silent Hill.
Yeah,
Did we both? Me and you did Fatal Frame.
Yeah.
Huh.
that didn't help at all.
No. Yes, it did. Everything else, fuck them.
Yeah, this is
Okay.
true.
Okay.
No, this is true.
Silent Hill 2, Fatal Frame First Ghost. Here's my argument for Fatal Frame. this is the first Ghost. This is teaching you how to deal with this game. And it's showing you that in order to deal with this, you have to let this shit get as close to you as fucking possible. And that's when you have to strike. That, to me, always keeps the terror ramped up because you've got to experience it right up there. If you see Pyramid Head, run. That's the way you distance yourself from the pyramid. That's my argument for Fatal Frame.
One more thing about the Fatal Frame, too. You only have so many shots at your camera. You have to find more film.
Okay. Silent Hillers, what are you thinking?
With me, it's just that, you know, it's the... And Fatal Frame is also like not just a jump scare, but I think it just has some jump scareness to it. I just think the whole thing with Pyramid Head and having to deal with him and
him being an obstacle that you must work
because
around
everything
it.
else has been that you've dealt with at this point has been like weird, but it feels like I can handle this because this is something like in my brain that I can like see as an actual like thing that I can deal with. Whereas Pyramid Head, you see that and you're like, what the I don't have any frame of reference for this thing.
The Fatal Frame, you have a way of dealing with the spirits coming towards you with the ghosts. Pyramid Head, the first time you see him, you have literally nothing to like protect yourself except run for your fucking life.
I have a counterpoint. So, in the scene where this happens in Fatal Frame, you're stuck in this house, right? You don't have any way out except for moving forward, and you can't move forward because there's a ghost about to start approaching you, and the door behind you can't move. You can't move until you deal with that immediately as she slowly starts bending upwards and moving towards you. You are stuck there dealing with that slow creeping fear.
While you had that nice soliloquy, Jay just shot something for the hell of it.
I took a silencer and Ethan's number 4 choice, which you might remember from earlier in the episode, but I've so silently assassinated it, we don't remember its name.
Yeah, he grassy knolled that shit.
Damn it, now I gotta listen to the show. I forgot what was up there already.
Oh, good. We're going to get more viewers this time.
I don't know. I feel like we're kind of at an impasse with this. We might need to figure out some other way to...
Pyramid Head gets blunted for me, no pun intended, because it's always a thing you run from. It's always and even at the very end, you don't fight it necessarily directly. There's a lot of metaphor here, which I think is strong and I think is very good. And from the storytelling aspect,
I think that's probably what draws me to Pyramid Head
as
more
a storytelling aspect. I think it works better for this than Fatal Frame. But for Fatal Frame, it's about fear. And again, in order to succeed, you have to run right to the edge of that fear to maximize your chances of fucking killing these things. So like this one, I feel strong enough about that. I'm gonna put a foot down for this one. I've heard. You make a compelling argument, but it's not enough to kind of break me from that. And I apologize. It's strong. It's a strong argument, but just the fear of it. Like if you've ever felt this, I think you know what I'm talking about. That's what I'm like. Jody, would you agree with me on that one?
I mean, yeah, I would, because I mean that's the whole tirade I went on a second ago about it's very, the Fatal Frame situation is very claustrophobic, which is already can be a fear within itself. But I mean they're both like equally good, so it's going to be difficult. Like
this is our King Solomon moment.
It is a King Solomon
like
moment.
What half of the baby are we accepting here?
I feel like we're kind of, like I said, I feel like we're kind of at an impasse.
Yeah.
And
or should we vote for another title instead?
It would feel
I don't think
bad.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Ethan. Go.
Ethan.
I don't think with us having like with us doing like the silent picking of the final contender, I don't think we would make as strong as an argument with anything else besides these two.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Options.
That's fair.
I had okay. Logically, I'm working out how to get my pick not on here. I guess we have PT on there. PT is basically like a newer version of Silent Hill, and I don't necessarily feel like we need to have two Silent Hills on there. So we can go with. I'm fine with Fatal Frame. I feel stronger about Silent Hill 2, but with what we have on there already, I feel
That
like
does make
Fatal
sense.
Frame.
I'm fine with that.
One last thing. We put both of them on. What would we of the two, would you reconsider one that we've already put on to get both of them on there?
No, once we start putting things on the contenders, I don't want to go back to doing that.
So we want to make
because that's going to make this like an hour long.
No,
Right.
So,
Yeah,
this
that's
is,
true.
so this is chiseled stone.
I would
At
prefer
least
us
for
to
this
treat it like
at least
this
for this
because
episode.
otherwise
I have to agree with Brady.
Lengthens the
These are the
discussions,
plastered
like-
statue from BioShock.
There
yeah,
you go.
except for that one.
Except for that one.
Yes.
They get shot
So
down
yeah,
to
let's
pieces.
put
So Fatal Frame's going on there?
Fatal
Yes.
Frame on there.
Fatal Frame first Ghost. Okay, gentlemen.
It was very funny though that Silent Hill 2 was the number one, so you couldn't bullet that to take away
Yeah.
that choice.
I wouldn't have done that, even if it came down to the
Right.
halfway.
Right.
Because
His disdain for Choo Choo Charles.
That's the true thing.
That's at least 50% plus
Yeah.
one.
Yeah.
The other part is I respect this. This is legitimately my favorite horror game of all time.
It's a
because
really good one.
It plays with visceral jump scare horror. It plays with psychological horror. There's so much at play at Silent Hill 2, more so than I think any of the other games in the series. I wouldn't have disrespected it like that. Like that would have been a bullet that never got fired. But I needed to.
Zelda.
I needed to write the word bulleted one time.
Right.
All right, gentlemen.
we
We have
have
5 contenders.
All right.
we have 2 number 1 slots and 3 number 4 slots.
Okay, first off, I don't think the Resident Evil 1 Doberman should be 5. I think it's in the top 4.
I'm okay with it being so. I think the 2 that are number 1 should be either 1 or 2. I think I'm okay with the Witch being 5.
I was just thinking that, but I didn't know how to say
I'm
it.
For me, it's. I would prefer the Witch at 4, but then that means like Fatal Frame is 5.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Which I guess that's really where I'm seeing like Fatal Frame at 5, Witch at 4, Doberman at 3.
Yeah, no. Like
I think
this is my
PT at 1 and Sandy's Requiem at 2. That's where I'm at. Just throwing that out there so that we have some starting point.
So you are Ghost, Witch, and Doberman. That'd be 5, 4, 3, right?
Yes.
I don't have a problem with any of that, really. I think the Doberman is stronger than the Witch for if you've never experienced it. But like if you've experienced all of these before, for me, Fatal Frame would rise up a little bit more because you keep having to deal with that same problem with every ghost that you fight in that game. That would be my only thing on that. But it's also a game that has not been played as much as Left 4 Dead and Resident Evil has.
Yeah.
So I can at least
Right.
hear in the West in the United States. So I like 3, 4, 5 Doberman, Witch, Fatal Frame. I'm good with unless anybody else has any counterpoint to that.
I have no opposition.
Jody.
All right. So
Where are you at?
I would actually probably. Yeah, I would go like number 5 would be The Witch. Number 4 would be Fatal Frame. Number 3 would be Requiem. Number 2 would be the Doberman, and number 1 would be PT.
Okay, let's try to do it that way then. So what's your split with PT and so PT number 1?
I put
and
PT at number 1.
Ethan, what about you?
So
Your personal of this list 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 5, however you want to do the numbers.
1 PT, 2 Eternal Dark, 3, I would have to say, I think I'd have to say Fatal Frame 3. Because of the first time experiencing it, the visceral reaction you get from it. 4, I would say, is the Doberman, and 5, I would say, is the Witch.
Okay, so for me, it's Eternal Darkness, PT, Fatal Frame, the Doberman. All right, if we're going to go for strictly mathematical, this is not etched in stone yet, but
So we got PT,
Eternal Darkness. I think the Witch goes in 5, and the Fatal Frame Ghost goes at 4. So, before I announce it, that is what it looks like. Does anybody have any objection to that?
I'm okay with that.
We're good. I see
Sounds
thumbs
good
up.
to me.
Jody.
I like this.
Ladies and gentlemen, passengers of the omnibus, we present to you now the undefeatable, incontrovertible, inarguable top 5 horror scenes from video games of all time. Number 5, the first encounter with the Witch from Left 4 Dead. Number 4, the first encounter with the chest ghost in Fatal Frame 1. Number 3, the first encounter with the hallway Doberman in Resident Evil 1. Number 2 is Eternal Darkness, Sanity's Requiem, the bathtub scene. And number 1 is PT, the whole goddamn
whole
thing.
game.
The whole fucking thing.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is your top 5 scariest scenes from video games of all time. If you have any arguments, they're wrong.
Yeah, if you want to like be pedantic and talk about PT being a demo, go fuck off.
If you want to experience our top 1 and 2 choices, good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just get a GameCube. Those shouldn't be hard to find.
Yeah, or
Yeah.
buy a used PS4.
You can get a
Eternal
Wii.
Darkness.
We plays.
We will play that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it's way easier to
Yeah,
get Eternal
technically,
Darkness.
all I have to do is get the game, which is only about $300.
Yeah.
Okay,
So,
there you go.
Yeah.
so yeah,
I have a GameCube.
I had a GameCube, but
Yeah.
now I just have a Wii.
I have a Wii somewhere in my house.
Everybody has a Wii somewhere in their house.
That it sold many copies.
Yeah.
Though the Switch has sold more.
oh, okay.
Oh yeah,
That's cool.
yeah. Best selling
Switch has
console I think they
probably
ever
been
had.
around longer. So yeah.
Yeah, as far as it being an active console, yeah, see that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, if you're asking like, well, where is this newer horror game? Just go fuck yourself. We all play old shit. So,
Yeah, Slender Man was like drop in the bucket. Nobody fucking cares about that.
Slender Man
game.
was on a lot of like lists though.
Yeah, I'm sure it
Slender
was.
Man, the 9 pages.
Yeah,
Amnesia
8.
was on a lot of
think
lists.
Amnesia,
The Amnesia games.
the Amnesia games.
The Amnesia games are quality.
Mm-hmm.
On the whole,
Yeah.
they're amazing. But for me, I can't pick a single
Moment.
scene out
Yeah.
or a single moment.
Yeah.
The entire
Right.
tension and dread that you have throughout that game
Yeah.
is top notch.
Right.
But one single moment, I couldn't pick you one out. I'm sorry. Ladies and gentlemen, the bus has reached the station. We thank you very much for being with us tonight or tomorrow or today or wherever you are listening to this. Brady, if you would please tell everyone about our friends Whiskey and Wrestling.
Oh, okay, cool. I got to sign one. So our friends Jason Holder and Michael Hill, they have a weekly podcast where they talk about the weekend wrestling, covering WWE, AEW, maybe some New Japan if anything big happens there. Maybe some TNA if anything big happens there. Just joking, nothing big happens there
Except for Joe Hendry.
except for Joe Hendry, and he's on NXT, so you don't got to watch that anymore.
Moose
Just-
is no longer champion.
Just keep watching the clip from YouTube where Joe Hendry sings "Can You Please Get Fired" to AJ Francis. Just keep watching that. You don't have to watch weekly. So yeah, and they also pair that week's wrestling with a well thought out that they didn't just go and buy for whatever reason whiskey, and they will give you tasting notes on that. So if any of that sounds interesting, go check them out on all the podcast places.
They wish they had more hands so they could give Canadian Hunter 20 thumbs down.
Yeah, infinite thumbs.
Jody, it's going to start with the echo.
That's it. It's on all the platforms. Listen to it. Got a new episode about Resident Evil, the video games.
Oh,
Mostly.
very timely.
yes.
Yes.
You would think that we were smart and timed these together, but
No.
we didn't do that.
It didn't happen. Pureology, it's on Spotify. Check it out.
Ethan, do you know Lumpy?
I know Lumpy.
Okay, but
I do know Lumpy.
Talk about the completed podcast.
The Completed Podcast, a Magic the Gathering centered podcast hosted by Christopher Vega, Brandon Scott Tanner, and Brandon Smith. They have deep in thought conversations about the newest Magic the Gathering sets, the different formats in which it is played, standard, modern, Commander, Pioneer. They talk about they have deep discussions with professional Magic players, Brandon Scott Tanner being a former Pro Tour player. The Completed Podcast.
Bearded Drums, Stephen Nelson II and Jarrett Taylor present you Drum from Gear to Gigs, along with recordings of live performances by Mr. Stephen Nelson II, available on YouTube and all major podcasting avenues. And I might as well also take the last one, ladies and gentlemen. We'd like to thank McNarb Gaming for providing us with this wonderful studio space in which we can record and send out these wonderful missives to you, the wonderful passengers. Come by and you will, we got new commander decks for
Bloomborough.
and also packs for Bloomborough available
new
as
set.
well. We are playing D&D
there's
every
some
Wednesday.
Secret Layer stuff that came out.
They do have select secret.
That's
layer
Hatsune
products.
Miku stuff.
Probably.
I
Or
believe
Hatsune
so.
Miku, my apologies.
There's so many, it's hard for me to keep up.
Okay. But yes, for your gaming needs in the greater or lesser Gaucher area, check out McNarb Gaming in Gaucher, Mississippi. Brady, what did we decide on for next week?
Oh fuck! I've already forgotten.
Did we all forget?
Boring themes.
Oh, what makes a theme boring in board games? There's a couple of other questions that we have.
Mechanics.
Are you a mechanics versus theme player? Do you even care about theme? So we're gonna have a discussion about stuff that you would think was boring, but maybe we can talk you into thinking that it's not boring. So we'll have a discussion about that next week.
Very nice. We like these things. We like to discuss things. So, yep, that's it. Parked refueling for the travels for next week. But for right now, Travelers on the Omnibus are signing off. My name is James McCarthy.
I'm Brady Davis.
I'm Jody Cook.
I'm Ethan Skinner.
Thanks for stopping by and enjoying the ride, guys. I'm gonna do the floss dance. Do 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 bow bow wow bow wow bow wow bow wow.
Little Bow Wow.
See, Brady's talking
bow
about
wow now.
Bioshock makes me want to play Bioshock
Just
now.
Bow Wow now.
Yeah.